If the expression above is rewritten in the form a plus bi, where a and b are real numbers, what is the value of a? And they're saying note that I is equal to negative, or to the radical of negative 1, right? So that I is just another way of saying the imaginary number. So if you want to get this into a form that looks like a plus bi, so then you can know what a and b are, so then you can solve the question and just tell them what the value of a is. You need to know how to simplify that equation. And the way that you do that is you multiply by something called the conjugate. Do you remember what that means? You don't. Okay. Well, I'm glad that you're here then. So the conjugate is the following. You multiply this and you look at the denominator and you just flip the sign between the 3 and the 2i. So I multiply this by 3 plus 2i over 3 plus 2i. And notice, because I'm multiplying essentially by 1, I'm not changing this at all, right? I'm multiplying it by something divided by itself. So that's just 1. So what is that going to give us? That is going to give us, and I'm just going to write it down here. So 8 minus I over 3 minus 2i times 3 plus 2i over 3 plus 2i. Okay? Now that's going to give us this. It's going to give us 24 plus 16i minus 3i plus negative I times 2i. All of that divided by, and I'm just foiling this out, right? 8 minus I times 3 plus 2 over, times 2i over 3 minus 2i times 3 plus 2i, right? And then on the bottom, I have 3 squared minus 6i plus 6i minus 2i squared. Now, if I want to simplify this further, well, I notice that the minus 6i and the plus 6i, they leave. And I notice as well that I can combine the negative I with the negative 3i, and I'll get negative 4i. Alright, cool. So let me rewrite that. I will get what? And you want to actually remember the fact that I squared is equal to negative 1. So knowing this, wherever we see an I squared, we're going to plug that in as we're going to change that as a negative 1. So we see that here 2i squared is just basically going to be 4i squared. So this is could be rewritten as 4i squared, which will then become 4 times negative 1. Right? We see what I'm saying, because we're changing the I squared to negative 1. So then that's just going to be 4 times negative 1, which is just negative 4. Where else do we see a I squared? Oh, we see one here, right? We see that the negative I is going to be multiplied by 2i, which will give us negative 2i squared. So negative 2i squared. Well, now I can change the I squared by negative 1, so that's a negative 2 times a negative 1, which will give me a positive 2. So I want to keep these two guys in mind when I'm rewriting this whole thing. So let's rewrite it down here. So what do we got? We still got 24 plus 16i minus 3i plus 2. Remember this guy? This is the 2 right there. All of that divided by 3 squared is 9 minus negative 4. Right? This is our negative 4. And we're subtracting because we have this negative right there. And then we simplify this further, and this will give us 26 plus 13i divided by 13. And if we squeeze this even more and we simplify that, right, 26 divided by 13 is just 2. And 13 divided by 13, right, 13i divided by 13 is going to give us just 1. So then it's just going to be 2 plus I. 2 plus I. So this whole thing right there, where's this guy? This whole mess right here just simplified after this long process into 2 plus I. Now, this actually looks a lot familiar to the form of a plus bi. And they're asking you to find, well, for me, sure, I'll take it, what a is. Okay, so what's A? The corollary for A is 2. And B is going to be just A1 here. So your answer is 2.